Hi, this is Lynn, and welcome to another Persuasion Byte, bite-sized tips on persuasion that you can use right away. 2 weeks ago, I told you about the most memorable customer experience I'd ever had delivered by somebody I didn't know. This past week, I've had the most demeaning customer experience I've ever had by somebody I did know. Here's what happened. This fellow and I had been working together for over a year. I'd been his client, and he kind of disappeared in December. And I thought, okay, I'm busy. I'll wait until January. I'm sure he'll reach out then. And didn't hear from him in January. And half of February went by. And I thought, okay, it's time for me to reach out. So I left a voicemail for him saying, I'm not quite sure what happened, but let's talk. And a week went by, and I didn't hear anything. So I sent a text saying, I'm hurt and confused. Later that day, he responded with a text saying he was traveling that day and he would call me that evening. He did when I was running errands, and I picked up the phone, and he said, I will spend the rest of my life trying to make this up to you. And I said, that's what every woman in a grocery store wants to hear. And then he explained to me that, yes, he'd gotten my messages and he'd been thinking about me, but other things had just gotten in the way, and he hadn't gotten back to me. And I said, that makes me feel kind of worthless, that all of these other things were more important than me. And he said, well, it's awful to feel worthless, which I thought was just a deflection. Then he said, we really can't have this conversation while you're in the grocery store. I'll call you tomorrow morning at 8. And I got up that day and thought, what do I want to get from this conversation? What's my goal? And I decided it was closure. Either we would be able to work beyond the trust issue and determine that we could continue to work together, or we wouldn't, and we would end the relationship. 8 o'clock came and went, as did 8:30. Finally, at 8:40, I sent a text saying, is committing to call me at 8 and not part of the I will spend the rest of my life trying to make this up to you program? And nothing. Then I went on my email and realized a half an hour after we had spoken, he'd sent an email saying, you couldn't possibly ever want to work with me again, so I'll talk to my assistant and have her send you money back if we owe you something. Followed shortly by an email saying, we owe you $400, I'll send that back to you. Enjoy the next chapter of your life. And I thought, what? Now, I could end right here, and this would be an awful customer service story. But let's you and I make something more of it. And I really got 3 things from this experience. First, we all make mistakes. But when you mess up, fess up. And I'm sure he didn't want to hear how unhappy I was. And frankly, we all also have feet of clay, because none of us want to hear that kind of information. But when we've wronged somebody, we can't run away. Which leads me to point number 2. Don't make decisions for your client. How did he know I never wanted to work with him again? And frankly, he'd taken the decision out of my hands and made it himself, which continued to make me feel unseen and unheard by this guy. I needed to have a voice, which was really point number 3. When we've wronged somebody, we need to let them have their say. It's true, he had decided I could never work with him again, and it was as though he was doing me a favor. What he was doing, in my judgment, was being a coward. He didn't want to reconcile this experience, and that made him less of a human being to me, because I felt that that was how he was treating me. We need to let people say what they have to. And frankly, I wrote a letter to him saying all the things I would have said on that phone conversation, and then chose not to send the letter because I'd moved it out of my system and I didn't want to give him the power to respond or not. Okay, so the next time we mess up really big, admit it. Don't preempt clients. Give them an opportunity to say what they need to say. Because, frankly, that helps you regain your credibility with them and also with yourself, to feel better about yourself. Because that's what you're going to need to be if you want to be the most persuasive person in the room. Thanks for watching.